Hey guys, how you all doing? Today, I am Veles-Sage, and today we are going to talk about a character from the Vertigo comics series, Fables. For those of you who haven't heard of this series, the premise is about all the fairy tale stories you've heard of being real, and all of them are connected. Many of them were driven to our world when a dark empire led by who the Fables would call the Adversary began to expand, claiming territory and forcing many to flee the homelands and hide away in our world, also known as the Mundi world, due to its lack of magic. Today, we will go over one character who plays a vital role throughout the series and has connections to many fables. Tell me, how many fairy tales have you heard of? Sleeping Beauty, Beauty and the Beast, Rapunzel, The Frog Prince. I don't mean the Disney versions. I mean the original material. In many of these stories, there is a nameless enchantress who casts a curse which sets the events of the story in motion. Well, imagine if all those unnamed witches are the same person. That is who Frau Totenkinder is. Created by Bill Willingham and appearing in Fables issue 3 in September 2002, Frau was born Bellflower to the Fog Mountain tribe at some point around the Paleolithic era. When she reached puberty, she began to predict the future, and growing in strength and accuracy until she was made the shaman by the tribe. She fell in love with Auric, who was the son of the chief, and the two would make love with the promise of marriage. When another tribe invaded their lands, Auric was betrothed to the daughter of the invader's chief. If it was learned he and Bellflower had been involved, they would both be banished, so he accused her of bargaining with demons, and Bellflower was cast out to fend for herself, and she was pregnant with Auric's child at the time as well. She survived long enough to give birth to a son, but realizing she wouldn't be able to survive without some extra magical power, she sacrificed her son, and his death amplified her powers, allowing her to defend herself from wild beasts and take revenge on Auric and the tribe who had cast her out, unleashing all forms of curses upon them until eventually they died out. During this time, Bellflower would learn that sacrificing one child a year would grant her tremendous power, but sacrificing two would halt her aging. Time went on. She would grow in power, cunning, and take many names. Frau Totenkinder is her most well-known name, not to mention ironic seeing how it translates to misdead children. In her time, Frau would help those who were kind to her, or those she felt were more deserving, such as creating the three billy goats to eliminate the bridge troll that had been plaguing at the town which had earned her favor, and even blessed Lancelot to be unbeatable as long as his heart was pure, which we all know how that went. She could also be vengeful. She gave Max Piper an enchanted flute and instructed him to lure the children of Hamelin away from their homes, as the town had earned her ire. She blessed the hard-working daughter of a woman with riches and punished her wicked and vain daughters by killing them and cooking them into pies and gloating to their mother. During this time, she waged her own private war against the men of privilege. Handsome young princes she would curse, spurred on by her experience with Auric. In order to keep herself from falling into temptation of the flesh, she would allow herself to age into an old woman. She would also try her hand at motherhood again, this time buying Rapunzel from her mother for a handful of gold and cursed her hair to grow at a fast rate. Yeah, she's that witch too. When things with Rapunzel didn't work out, Frau retreated into the dark forest. Eventually, she would meet Hansel and Gretel, who would outsmart her and push her into the oven where she was burned alive. Sometime later, Snow White and her sister, Rose Red, were running for their lives when they happened across Frau's burned home. They found her charred corpse and to their shock found she was still alive. Snow wanted to leave her behind, but Rose felt pity for her, and they traveled with Frau during the trip, and Frau began to heal herself. She agreed to travel with them to the mundane world and told them her story. At some point, they were separated, but Frau managed to arrive in Fabletown, where all the refugees had gathered to form a secret haven, free from the adversary and from the mortals they called the Mundis. Frau joined the 13th floor witches and sorcerers, who used their talents to assist members of Fabletown and cast spells to keep them hidden. The original leader of the group was the Fairy Witch. It is heavily implied Frau was responsible for her mental degradation, so she herself could assume control of the 13th floor. Throughout the series, Frau proved to be one of Fabletown's most instrumental allies. Her services proved to be invaluable to the Fables time and time again, with her cunning and endless spells. But even more impressive was her vast network of spies and her ability to gather information. Nothing in Fabletown escaped her notice, even if the higher-ups themselves didn't include her in their plans. What's more impressive is she learned the identity of the adversary long before anyone else did, but claims to have kept this secret to herself as to protect her sources. When Fabletown came under attack by Baba Yaga under the guise of Little Red Riding Hood and her army of woodmen, it was Frau who fought the invaders one-on-one and defeated her, an impressive feat which later in the series it was shown that Baba Yaga was able to defeat a horde of jinn with little effort. Frau would be especially vital when the Fables came under attack by one of the greater powers, Mr. Dark, a being of limitless magic power who was the embodiment of all the boogeymen in many cultures. He had been imprisoned by the Empire's Boxing League, a group assigned with the task of finding and capturing extremely powerful magical beings who would prove a danger to the Empire. After being accidentally freed, he set his sights on the Fables for what he viewed as an offense against him done by them for the fact that they had used items that had belonged to him before he was boxed. Frau would reassume her Bellfire persona and go on the quest to learn more about Mr. Dark, and hopefully the way to defeat him. Returning to the homelands to find where Dark had been stored, she was able to glean some information, and her investigation would take her to the doorstep of Dunster Hap, a former member of the Boxing League, who tells her all she needs to know about Dark and the Boxing League. He told her how Dark is one of the greater powers and how he had gotten the inspiration to capture Dark and his weakness to gold. During this time, the two fell in love and would eventually be married. Armed with her knowledge, Frau prepares for a showdown with Dark. Mustering all the power she had collected over the centuries, she showed she was able to hold her own against Dark, eventually overpowering him by casting several spells at the same time with a single word, and managed to seal him in a casing of gold. Sadly, Dark managed to free himself and seemingly killed Frau, but she managed to survive. But now depleted of the vast stores of magic she once had, she left with Dunster to parts unknown. The pair would reappear again in the North Wind's world, making sure both North and Dark fell into the casket of primordial winds, to ensure that both died, as North asked them to do. However, the duo were unable to leave the realm and stayed there for some time until discovered by Winter Wolf, who took them with her. Frau's life with Dunster would end in tragedy when both were killed by Goldilocks, and since Frau was more useful to the Fables, she was brought back by Cinderella. Frau would assist Rose Red in fighting a feral Bigby wolf under the control of Nurse Sprat, but during the battle, one of her blades, Judgment, was destroyed and half her power with it. During this time, Rose Red and Snow White were on the cusp of a war with one another. Snow sent Cinderella to kill Frau, fearing she would join Rose's side. The clash between Cindy and Frau ended with a massive explosion, leaving both severely wounded, but with her last ounce of strength, Cinderella stabbed Frau with the heel of her glass slipper before succumbing to her own injuries. After her death, a school for the study of magic was dedicated to her, named the Totenkinder Memorial School of Magic. Ironic, given her personal history with children and the meaning of her name. Frau has appeared in various Fable spin-offs and related media. She also appeared in Volume 9 of the unwritten series, Fables, which takes place in an alternate world where Mr. Dark was never defeated and the world is on the cusp of destruction. Frau is a woman of many contradictions. While capable of great, horrific actions, they are not done with malice, but rather of her own pragmatism and sense of morality. When confronted about her past with Hansel and Gretel, she justified her actions by saying it was their parents who had left the children to die in her forest, and she had merely found use for them. While she does have a vindictive side, she is also shown to be capable of forgiveness, such as when she took Gretel under her wing and began teaching her magic when the young girl made her way to the mundane world. Also, her rocking chair, which she has used as her gingerbread house, and the tower she lived in with Rapunzel, is in truth the stone she sacrificed her son on, and she names it Regret, hinting she still is remorseful for her actions. She also claims to have given up her life of killing children, claiming to only take a small dose of blood from fabled newborns. This is revealed to be a lie during a conversation with Kay, who revealed she is still sacrificing children, but she is doing it in droves and amassing tons of power as a result. Frau clarifies that what she does is not illegal according to mundane laws, but it is clear she'd rather keep her actions a secret from the rest of Fabletown. What exactly Frau is doing is never made clear, though fans have theorized she's using abortion clinics to get the sacrifices she needs, though this has never been confirmed. She can be manipulative and deceitful, but she is also capable of great loyalty, serving Fabletown faithfully out of gratitude for Rose and Snow helping her, and making it her mission to bring down both the adversary and Mr. Dark. Even the North Wind, another of the great powers, complimented her skills, claiming that had she continued gathering power, she would have ascended to be like himself or Dark, theorizing she would be the archetype for all witches. Frau is one of my favorite characters in the series. She could be ruthless, pragmatic, easily able to find reason for some seriously atrocious acts. Yet she is shown to be capable of mercy and kindness, and an admirable sense of loyalty. It is these qualities that make Frau Totenkinder one of my favorites from Fables. And that is where I'm going to end the video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I highly recommend you read the series, as it is well written and brimming with fables and fairy tales from all over the world. If you like this video, please hit the notification button and click the bell, and please also subscribe. This is Veles-Sage. Peace and blessings to you all.